Welcome to this presentation of a new product offered by Tracy.net called Recording Manager. Recording Manager is a new utility and service that we are offering to allow our Switchvox customers that have call recording enabled on their PBX to access their archived call recordings that are currently residing on off-site FTP servers. As you know, the Switchvox PBX records your calls according to various rules that you have set up in the PBX, and at the end of the day or whatever schedule that you specify, those calls can be FTP'd and transferred to an FTP server off-site for archival purposes, so you have them in the future. Now, accessing these call recordings can be a little bit cumbersome because they're just all stored in a folder on your FTP server, and there's not really an easy way to access them. So what we've done is created an interface called Recording Manager that basically indexes your FTP server where the call recordings are stored. Now, it's important to note that the call recording files themselves are not copied over to be stored on any of our servers. They actually remain stored on your FTP server, so that data is intact on your server. All that this utility does is logs into the FTP server and indexes the data that's in there and creates a searchable database of the call information, like the call date, the caller ID, the duration of the call, things like that. And the only changes that are ever made to the actual files is the directory in which they're stored. So in the root of the FTP server, that's where all your files are stored. All those call recordings on your FTP server are stored. And once the indexing process is finished, they're simply moved into a folder called processed. And that's just so the system knows that those call recordings have already been indexed. And that's really the only change that ever happens. The files themselves remain on the FTP server. So with all that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the Recording Manager interface. We can see here that the user is logged in to this Acme Corporation. The manager's name is Charles Bossman, and this is the interface that Charles can use to view calls. Now, we've just gone ahead and just put a few sample calls in here so you can see how this works, but basically you can search for calls based on a date range. So if you wanted to, you can go ahead and search for a start range and an end range very easily. You can go ahead and put a caller ID, and you can search the caller ID based on the from number, the to number, or we can search both of them. Now I say number, but it's really anything in the caller ID string, whether it be a name or number, can be searched. We can then determine how many records to return per page. And this option here is for random call selection. So sometimes companies, for quality assurance purposes, need to do some spot checking. And this tool allows you to take a random sampling of a percentage of calls, either based on search criteria like date or caller ID. Let's say you wanted to take 5% of a specific agent's calls, and you just want a random sampling of those calls so you can do spot checking on. You would just simply put in the percentage of the calls that you want to return, and the system will randomly generate a report of random calls that meet that criteria. So we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to go, there's only a couple of test calls in here, so I'm just going to hit search here. And you can see that there are a total of 3 calls in this particular demonstration. server here, and you can see the date and time, the source of the call, the destination, how long the call was, and you'll see there's a column for notes and play. So if I were to hit the play button, it's going to temporarily log into the FTP server and just copy that one particular file into a temporary storage area for playback. Once that playback is done, the temporary file is deleted, and the original call recording is never touched or deleted or anything like that. So that remains on your FTP server. So we simply hit play, and it plays the call recording. Okay. Now, if the notes column is there, if the manager would like to give any feedback on that call recording, maybe there's the manager would like to grade the call somehow, you can just click on notes, and you can that manager can then type in whatever note they want. So we can go ahead and say, "Good job, Mike," or whatever you want to say. Hit add note, and now that note becomes a permanent history record for that particular call. If you have multiple managers, each one can have their own login and add their own notes, and they'll be tagged as such. Okay. Now you'll notice that the next time we search, the next time this page is refreshed, you'll notice that it's very easy to see which calls have notes and which ones don't. The ones with notes are bold, so you can go ahead and quickly pull up what those notes were. Anything that's not bold doesn't have a note, for example. Now let me just show you. I know we only have 3 calls in here, but let's just say that we wanted to go ahead and return, let's say 50% of these calls here. And you'll see that this time it returned these particular calls. So we can do it again, and it should return, see how it returned a different random set. So it's very random on that utility is a nice utility to bring up random calls for spot checking. And again, everything just works the same. Just hit play, you can listen to the call, add your notes, and carry on. It's a great way to give feedback on calls, record feedback on calls. Now we were talking about searching based on caller ID. We can see here John Smith. Let's go ahead and just search for all calls that are relating to John Smith. You can see all of his calls there. Let's say you want to search on this particular destination number. You can do that as well. And again, we have this set to search both the from and the to. We can go ahead and search that, and it's going to return just that record. So very simple, nothing crazy. It's just a great, easy way to access your call recordings that have been archived on your FTP server, and gives you a nice searchable database of all your calls that have been recorded, and an easy way to play them back and add notes to them. So the pricing on this service is $50 a month. That includes 1 seat for 1 manager. If you need additional managers, we can add those for an additional cost. But $50 a month will get you started with the recording manager interface. If that's something you'd like to add to your account, please let us know. You can either give us a call at 954-354-7000, extension 821, or email support@tracy.net. Thanks. Have a great day.